Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down a really powerful framework for tackling the stock market. We'll focus on one super simple strategy and, maybe even more importantly, the mindset you absolutely need to make it work.
All right, so here's the game plan. We're going to kick things off with a powerful trading shortcut. Then we'll get into the real secret to success, and it's probably not what you think. After that, we'll dive into the common mind traps that trip people up, how to build the right habits, and finally, wrap it all up by mastering that financial mindset. Okay, first up, how do you find those amazing stocks without getting completely buried in financial reports for weeks on end? Right? Well, there's actually a powerful shortcut that kind of lets the market do all the heavy lifting for you. It signals a company's strength before it becomes obvious to, everyone else.
It's called the multi-year breakout. And the idea here is actually super simple. When a stock finally smashes through a price it hasn't been able to beat for years, we're talking 8, 10, maybe even 15 years, that's a huge signal. It's telling you that something fundamentally has changed for the better inside that company. The market is basically screaming, hey, pay attention over here.
And this really gets to the heart of why this is so efficient. Look, instead of buying a stock and just waiting, maybe for years, for it to move, this strategy lets you jump in right when the action is starting. You're letting the market itself confirm that yes, a major shift is happening right now.
But here's the thing, having a great strategy, that's only a tiny piece of the puzzle. The real key to success in the market, it's not about what you know, it's all about how you think.
And just look at this. It really puts it into perspective, doesn't it? Most people spend all their time hunting for that one perfect strategy, but a ton of experts argue that success in trading is 90% psychology and only 10% knowledge or strategy. Your mindset, that's the real battlefield.
It really comes down to this, and it's something Warren Buffett has talked about a lot. If you can't control your emotions, you simply cannot control your money. Your emotional discipline is directly, one-to-one, tied to your financial results. Without it, even the best strategy in the world is going to fail.
So what are these emotional hurdles we're talking about? What are the things that can completely derail a perfectly good strategy? Let's break down the most common mind traps that you really need to watch out for. Okay, the two biggest portfolio destroyers by far are fear and greed. It's pretty simple, right? Fear makes you panic and sell at the absolute bottom. And greed makes you jump in and buy at the very top. Either way, it's a recipe for disaster.
I mean, we've all seen these scary headlines that spark total panic, right? But just look back at some of these recent market shocks. You see the same pattern over and over again. A sharp, terrifying drop, followed by a surprisingly fast recovery. The takeaway here is crystal clear. The people who held their nerve were rewarded, but the ones who sold in a panic, they just locked in their losses for real. And it's not just fear and greed. You've also got to watch out for overconfidence, trusting a gut feeling over your actual analysis. Then there's the herd mentality, just blindly following tips from TV or social media. And finally, boredom trading. That's when you make trades just for the excitement, not because there's a real reason to. All right, so we know the traps to avoid. So what are the positive habits we need to build? This is where real discipline and having a solid process come into play.
Okay, rule number one for any disciplined trader. You have to know when to get out. Think about it. A stop loss isn't admitting you failed. It's your safety brake. It's that preset point where you just say, okay, my idea was wrong, and you get out to protect your money. Without it, a small, totally manageable loss can spiral into a catastrophic one before you know it. And on the flip side, you've got to know when to take your profits. A profit target is your destination for the trip. If you don't have one, that's when greed creeps in. You might have a great winning trade, but you just keep holding on, hoping for more, and then you watch it ride all the way back down again, giving back everything you made.
Now, let's just look at the simple, powerful math here. If you use a 1-to-3 risk-reward ratio, meaning you're aiming to make $3 for every $1 you risk, you can actually be wrong a lot of the time and still come out way ahead. Just look at the difference in net profit. A disciplined plan for taking profits can totally change your results, even if you win and lose the same number of trades.
And to really protect your capital, here are a few simple rules. First, only use money you can truly afford to lose, not your rent money. Second, spread your investments out. Never put everything into one single stock. And finally, you have to get comfortable with taking small, planned losses. It's not a failure, it's a skill.
Okay, for a final section, let's bring these two pillars together, the strategy and the psychology. How do we actually build a mindset that's geared for long-term growth?
You have to think of this as a journey, a marathon, not some get-rich-quick sprint. The path looks like this. Step 1 is just to survive. Your whole focus is on not losing your capital. Once you've got that defense down, you move to Step 2, stabilize. You aim for small, consistent wins. And only after you've proven you can do that day in and day out should you even think about Step 3, scaling up and going for those bigger home runs.
And this is so crucial. You've got to ground your expectations in reality. Your first goal isn't to go out and buy a mansion next week. Nope, it's to make enough to pay for your daily cup of tea. Then maybe your phone bill. Success starts with these small, real-world goals that build your confidence and your skill over time.
And this really gets to the core of it. The stock market doesn't care if you're a good person or a bad person. It doesn't care about your feelings. It just follows its own rules. So your job is to follow yours. So in the end, the market is really just a giant mirror. It reflects your own discipline, your patience, your fear. The ultimate question isn't just, can you find the right stock? It's, are you prepared to meet yourself?